What's up everyone, Barrett here with Spec of Tech. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about all things Anthem AVM90. This is the full review of the Anthem AVM90. Yeah, there was some bugs in the beginning, but Anthem was quick to fix them. We'll talk about how it sounds. Of course, there's going to be some demos, and we'll have a look at some room measurements to see how it calibrated 3 JTR RS2 subwoofers. Alright, so let's jump right into this video, but first I need to give credit where credit is due. A big thank you to John at Base Electronics here in Calgary, Alberta, for fighting through the unit shortages to get me one of these units as quickly as they could. So if you are in the Calgary, Alberta area, you should definitely check them out. I also want to clear up one blunder that I made in the first video about the AVM90. I had a really hectic schedule at the time, and I was only going to be spending 7 days at home out of a 6-week period. So I won't lie, I rushed to go pick up my AVM90, and I did my best to get a video out as quickly as possible. I also did my best to make that accurate, but in that rush, for some reason I got it in my head that there were not 4 RCA outputs for the subwoofers. That is incorrect. There are 4 RCA outputs on the AVM90, along with 4 XLR outputs. My apologies, guys, for the mistake. I never meant to cause any confusion. That's what I get for rushing when I'm excited about a product. Alright, I've had the Anthem AVM90 in my theater since the end of April. It replaced the Anthem AVM70, which I had before it. If you're interested in a comparison between those two, make sure you subscribe because that video is coming up. I'm trying to get it done as quickly as possible, so you should be seeing that video probably in the next month or two. If you want to know about the build quality, functionality, etc., just go check out the Anthem AVM70 review that I did, because the chassis, the build quality, and functionality are all identical, and I'll link that video in the top right-hand corner of this one. But since you are already here on this video, I will say that there are no negatives that I can note regarding the build quality or the aesthetics. I believe the unit has a very classy and modern look. It also is built very well. The only nitpick I do have is that I wish they had used a bigger screen to provide more information. The Anthem AVM90 does have better internals than the AVM70 with upgraded flagship ESS 9038 Sabre DACs. All HDMI ports are HDMI 2.1, supporting 8K 60Hz or 4K 120Hz and 4 subwoofer outputs. The newer AVM70s will be released with the HDMI 2.1 ports as well, but the older AVM70 and the one that I had was only using HDMI 2.0. And I have already confirmed 4K 120Hz with the AVM90 in my previous video, which I already linked in the top right hand corner if you want to check that out. When I made that video, I did point out some issues I had with the Anthem AVM90. First of all, the audio would cut out when I was using the Xbox Series X on 4K 120Hz, and it would do that every 10 seconds or so due to an HDMI handshake issue. I'm very happy to report that that issue has been fixed. I'm running the most up-to-date beta software, so I'm not sure exactly when they had that fixed, but it is working properly now. The other issue I had, which was not specific to the AVM90, was with Arc Genesis actually, and it was the microphone would not recognize due to some USB driver issues on my new laptops. Now, to be honest, I haven't run Arc in probably about a month and a half. My schedule's been a little bit crazy. I did get new speakers, so I do need to run Arc again, but I haven't yet. So the last time I ran Arc, which was about a month and a half ago, the problem still did exist. But I did release a video with a Band-Aid fix, which was disabling the USB for microphone on your laptop. I linked the video in the top right-hand corner that explains this temporary fix if you guys are interested. But those really were my only complaints about this unit at the time, so I'm glad to see that Anthem fixed the most annoying issue so quickly. So when it comes to the functionality and operation of the unit, the only complaint that still stands is the mic recognition issue. Other than that, this unit is super smooth. When it comes to input switching, it's probably not exactly the fastest in the business, but it is quite fast. It's fast enough not to warrant any complaints. The unit powers on incredibly quick, so you're ready to enjoy your content in just a few seconds. The web UI just keeps getting better, and it operates very smooth. Any changes made on the web UI are pretty much made instantly on the AVM90 itself. When it comes to Arc Genesis, now it does auto set your distances as well as your levels, along with auto phase adjustment, which we will talk more about later on in this video. All in all, the Anthem units are getting close to Denon and Marant's level of operational smoothness and functionality, and in some cases exceeds them, particularly with the intuitive web UI. Now, I do have to admit that ARC is not quite as user-friendly as Odyssey, but it isn't too far off either. Okay, so now let's talk about the most important thing, and that's how the AVM90 sounds, but it didn't do everything I was hoping it would do when it came to calibration, which we'll get into later in this video. But from the first time I turned on the AVM90 and played something through it, before even running the room calibration, I could tell that there was something truly special about this unit. Even though the little brother AVM70 has fantastic sound and was true high fidelity, the AVM90 just took things further in that regard. I hate to sound like a cliche, but it truly was like there was a veil lifted from my entire system. The funny thing is I never felt like the AVM70 was ever veiled. In fact, I felt like it had improved on the sound quality in almost every way over my Marantz AV7706. But the AVM90, guys, the AVM90 just elevated the sound so much more. Channel separation was instantly better. Clarity was also instantly noticeably better. In my first impression video, I put it like this. As you may know, I used to own the legacy Audio Focus SE towers. Despite some bad happenings with their quality control and their customer service, their sound was incredibly revealing and clear. They truly do offer the most detail retrieval I've ever heard from any speaker that I've owned. I only ever had them connected to the AVM70 because I sold them before getting the AVM90, but I was using the exact same amps, the only difference was the processor. After selling the Focus SE towers, I purchased the Paradigm Founder 120H towers, which are about 5,000 to 7,000 Canadian less for the pair versus the legacy towers. These Paradigm speakers do a lot of things very well and are a beautiful sounding speaker that are just so easy to listen to, but what they lack versus the legacy is clarity and detail. Not that they are bad, actually far from it, they just weren't as good as the legacy speakers when I was using the AVM70. After connecting the Founder 120s to the AVM90, that all changed. The Paradigm speakers, although already phenomenal, were now so much better. Granted, I'm going off memory here, so take it with a grain of salt, but I feel as though the Paradigms now have the exact same level of detail and clarity as the legacy Focus towers, and all I changed was the processor. Now, I'm sure that some of this can be attributed to those flagship ESS 9038 Pro DACs in the AVM90, along with better internals and integration, but wow guys, does it ever sound good. For the surround sound itself, it was a huge leap in performance. My height effects are much more noticeable and clear. I could hear them before, and I thought they were clear, but with this AVM90, it just opened up my ears and my eyes to how good height effects can truly be. Listening to the Dolby Amaze demo had the rain sounding like it was literally falling in my room. Here, take a listen for yourself. Obviously, I can't record the full surround effect, and you won't hear it as surround sound, but there are those of you that like demos, so here you go. But before I play the demo, please keep in mind, for all the demos, that my recording equipment, my room, and the device that you're listening on will greatly affect the sound, so it isn't an accurate depiction of what it sounded like in my room. I hope you guys enjoyed the demo, but I do know that YouTube demos aren't able to portray channel separation and clarity very well, but hopefully it does help just a little bit. But the channel separation and clarity has helped with all of my speakers, my entire surround sound system. The effects are just so much more precise and discernible now. So here's another quick demo of John Wick, the bar fight scene. So now that that demo's over, to sum it up, this unit has made movies and gaming much more immersive and enjoyable. But the AVM90 doesn't only help with movies and surround effects, it has a profound impact on music as well. But before we get into that, let's talk about what didn't impress me, and that is the ARC calibration, but specifically when it comes to bass calibration. For those that may not know, ARC, or Anthem Room Correction software, is one of the best room calibration softwares in the business, full stop. There's no questioning that. It does a fantastic job. But one of the main reasons I bought the AVM90 is because it has 4 independent subwoofer outputs. That, along with ARC's new feature for auto phase correction, I thought that it may give me results close to what a mini DSP can provide. Now keep in mind that I did take these measurements only at the main listening position, and ARC is somewhat designed to give you a good bass response at several seats. So keep that in mind when looking at these measurements. But it does improve the bass response at my main listening position when it's measured, but it isn't as flat that I was hoping like you can get with a mini DSP. On the other hand, it does improve the sound and impact of bass, so ARC does seem to clean up bass somehow, and it sounds a little bit more clean and more intelligible. Let's have a look at some room measurements at my main listening position that are with and without ARC. I know that ARC is taking 5 measurements, summing them, and then attempting to provide a good bass experience across the 3 seats, but we are just going to focus on the main listening position for this video. I may do a more in-depth video about the Anthem AVM90 and ARC calibration in the future though. And keep in mind that for these measurements, I was still using the 3 JTR RS2 subwoofers. Okay, so here is the main listening position without ARC. As you can see, my room has some pretty nasty nulls. I have to admit, my room didn't make it easy for ARC. It's definitely a challenge. And here you can see what it looks like after running and applying the ARC file. It did improve the response, but at the same time, I was expecting a little bit better. Maybe my expectations are just a little too high, but I did think it would get the response a little bit flatter. So really, this isn't the end of the world, guys, because it really does improve the sound and the impact of the bass. So yes, I was expecting the measurements to be a little bit flatter, but like I already said, ARC is not only taking the measurements at the main listening position, it's taking 5 different measurements and kind of summing them and trying to provide a good experience over those 3 seats. And it's very possible that this is why the response isn't as flat at the main listening position that I was expecting. So for those of you that are using a mini DSP, I don't think it's time to give it up just yet. Before we got into these room measurements, I had stated that the AVM90 made a profound impact on music. So let's talk about that. Obviously, I haven't heard every processor out there, but I would guess that the AVM90 is one of the best units if you are a music lover that also loves movies. This unit will benefit you with any sort of genre that you listen to because of that clarity that I mentioned, which just really comes down to its impeccable detail retrieval. Music is just more transparent, it's light, subtle notes that you couldn't really hear before are still subtle, but at the same time are so much more clear. It also seems to kind of just dance around the room with a little bit more ease. Good detailed music just seems so effortless with the AVM90. And to help you hear it for yourself, again, remember the disclaimer that I mentioned earlier, but here are a couple music demos. Alright, so that is the last of the demos for this video, so let's try and sum up the audio experience of this processor, and for lack of a better term, it really is like there was a veil lifted from my entire system. The thing is I thought that the AVM70 had already done that for my audio, but the AVM90 came along and showed me how much better it can be. It's really surprising to think that your audio is clear and detailed, and then hook up a unit like the AVM90 and just find out that it can get better. But can it get better than the AVM90? That, I don't know. Honestly, I can't imagine the audio being any clearer or more detailed than this. At this point in time, I think the AVM90 is just it for me. It performs so well with music and movies. I feel like it is the perfect balance of price and audio performance. I guess there's always Trinnov, but I'd be curious to see them compared to each other. But I'd be shocked if the Trinnov offered a noticeable step up in clarity and detail over the AVM90. And that's not a knock on the Trinnov, because I know that they are the cream of the crop and what most consider the absolute end game when it comes to processor. It's just a testament on how good I believe the AVM90 is. But who knows, maybe one day we'll be able to find out. When it comes to sound quality, I have zero hesitations recommending the AVM90, especially if you love music as much as you love movies. For those of you that follow the channel, you'll probably know that some of this video was recorded in the somewhat recent past because I still had the Paradigm 120H towers. Now, what I wanted to make sure I did is do the exact same recordings with the Anthem AVM90 before I sold it. So what I did is I made sure to keep all the parameters the same so that they would be level matched and there'd be no differences between them other than the fact that I'm using an AVM90 versus the AVM90. So I do have that video planned. If you would like to see that video, drop your comments down below. Make sure you subscribe, tick the bell icon if you do, and please take just one short second to hit that like button. I always do appreciate it. And if you guys would please consider supporting the channel. A lot of you may not know this, but most of the gear that you see me reviewing or comparing on this channel is actually purchased with my own money. I kind of just buy and sell and rotate gear to help bring you guys information. So if you would like to support the channel, there's 3 ways that you can do it. I've dropped a link down in the description below for my Patreon. You can also join the channel itself by hitting the join button right below this video. Or if you want to send me a few bucks to buy me a cup of coffee, you can hit that thanks button right below this video. Remember to enjoy your systems, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.